All right, welcome back to Mr. P Helps with Algebra. This is Unit 2, Topic 3, Lesson number 6. We are once again still doing inequalities, solving inequalities. Find the next two values in the pattern. So it starts us off with the warm-up with patterns. 3, 6, 9, 12. Obviously, it looks like plus 3, so this is 15, and this is 18. That's an arithmetic sequence. So that's what I would say here. So describe how you determine these values. Well, I determined it because it's an arithmetic sequence. It means it's plus 3, and I simply just follow the pattern. 3, 6, 12, 24. So it looks like these numbers are doubling. So this is going to be 48, and this is going to be 96. And I noticed it's a geometric pattern because the numbers were going up. They were increasing pretty rapidly. Then I just looked to see that it was multiplied. Times 2, times 2, times 2, times 2. These numbers are decreasing, but they're not decreasing very rapidly. So I'm going to think it's most likely an arithmetic sequence. That would be down by 4, down by 4, down by 4. So that's adding negative 4 for my description. So that makes this 8 and this 4. It's adding negative 4, so it's an arithmetic sequence. And once again, I noticed it because it was not changing very rapidly. Arithmetic sequences change not as fast as exponentials. They're either going to get really big or really small really quickly. All right, so we've finally got a new scenario in this lesson. So we are dealing with window cleaning in this case. So we have two companies. One charges $50 for the service call and then charges $10 per window. And the other cleaning company charges $25 for the call just to come to your place, because that's really how businesses work. They charge you to come to your place, and then they charge you based on per hour, in this case per window, $15 per window. So it looks like they charge less money up front, but they also charge more money than this company does per window. So there is going to be a point when these two cross each other, meaning that if you've only got so many windows, one company is going to be cheaper, and if you've got lots of windows, the other company is going to be cheaper. Because if you've got lots of windows, if you think about it, you're going to want to pay less per window if you've got like 20 windows in your house, because you're saving $5 for every window. That'd be $100 savings, and you're only paying $25 more. So in the long run, you're going to save $75. Yeah, I realize I just kind of ruined the whole setup, but yeah, that's basically how that works. Okay, so there you go. In order to offer a reasonable option, it's clear you have to support your choice using one or more of the following models. So I think I just basically just described everything there for you. If you've got lots of windows, you want to go with option 2. If you've got not a, wait, I said that backwards. If you've got lots of windows, you want to go with this one because you're paying less per window. And if you've got not a lot of windows, you want to go with this company. Okay, so if you want to go back over the whole dog sitting, I feel like I've kind of worn that out in the recent videos. So if you really still have questions about this, really look back at the last video, because I showed all of the answers, all of them graphed. I went over basically all of the standard forms for writing the equations. I don't feel there's any need to go over this again. So you can clearly see all of these answers I went over in the last video, or I went over in the first 4 videos. So check those out if you're still looking for that. And I also showed in the last video, which was lesson 5, I showed the graph of all 4 of the graphs and the answer to all 4 of them. And anything in that yellow mark that you saw was an answer. Okay, so let's talk about system of equations, because that's where lesson 7 is going from now on. So no more inequalities, equations only. So we've got this equation and this equation, and then they've given you the answers, kind of like what you see when you look at your graphing calculator. And we're looking for the solution. And it's not really looking like it's too obvious to me right here, so I'm wondering what's going on here, because I'm looking for when they are the same. So these are not the same, these are not the same, these are 10 apart. So I'm just going to throw numbers here in the middle. These numbers are 10 apart from each other. These numbers are 7 apart from each other. These numbers are 4 apart from each other. So what do you notice happening is that the numbers are getting closer. So we're getting closer to the answer. These numbers are only 1 apart from each other, because this number is still 1 above this one. Now this one is 2 below. So this is kind of a crazy one to do for this table, but I know the answer has to be 1 point something. Now I don't know exactly what it is. I'd actually have to use some sort of method to solve it by either graphing, substitution method, or elimination method. But I do know it's 1 point something. The reason I know it's 1 point something is because this is when it switches from this equation being bigger to this equation being bigger. And then the last one, this one looks to be 5 bigger. So you can see the pattern here. And then it's right here is when it changes from the first equation to the second equation having a larger answer, which means the answer has to be between 1 and 2. Now, if I had to guess, I would say the answer is probably closer to 1 than it is 2. And the reason I'm saying that is because this number is much closer to 0 being the same than this number is. So if I had to make a guess, I would say, and I don't know the answer, I honestly don't know the answer, I would probably say it's about 1.3 repeated. I'm just going to guess 1 1/3. That's probably not right, but that's going to be my guess right there. So I'm going to say it's a little bit closer. It's going to be about 1 1/3. That's where I came up with that. I do know it's between 1 and 2, and that honestly, that would be an acceptable answer on a test if you wrote that, if you saw it. This one says approximate as well, so approximate the solution to the system of equations based on the following graph. Okay, so it looks like we got another decimal going on here. So what we do know is when you graph two equations, wherever they intersect is the answer. Now it's looking like the answer is about 1 1/3. Well, if you might or might not have noticed this, is that this table and these graphs are exactly the same thing. So 1 1/3 is about an answer. I think that's a pretty good answer because 1 1/2, okay, maybe it's 1.4 or 1.3. I'm not quite sure. I'm just approximating. So the answer is about 1.4, and then the solution, which is y, would be about 2 point something. I don't know what that would be either, so I would guess maybe 2.2, somewhere around there. But the answer is always the time. Time is the independent variable. The dependent variable, which goes up and down, just tells you how many of that thing there is at the solution. Now, you probably have already predicted this, but number 3 is exactly the same thing. This equation, yeah, they're the exact same thing as up here. So whether you have a table, a graph, or an equation, they're all going to be the exact same answer. This is this graph, and this is that graph. So you can clearly see that they're still going to intersect right there at about 1.2. Or, I'm sorry, 1.3, 1.4. Those are my guesses. All right, so getting to the homework. Tickets to a show cost $10 advance. So if my memory serves me right, we got adult tickets and child tickets. So I'm going to let X equal, okay, I better read it. Tickets to the show cost $10 in advance and $15 at the door. Okay, so X is going to represent in advance, and Y is going to represent when you buy tickets at the door. So the way it works, usually if you pay money up front, in real life, they give you a discount because they want to make sure that they're going to sell out all the seats or whatever it happens to be. And they don't like selling tickets at the door if possible because then they're taking a chance they might not sell the ticket. So that's why the reason why most businesses charge you more. I know I'm getting a little off task here. So let's talk about if 120 tickets are sold for a total of $1,390, how many tickets were bought in advance? Okay, so I can set this up as a system of equations. So if they cost $10 in advance, so that's X, plus the tickets they sell at the door, which is $15 per at the door. And the tickets are cost to show, okay, if 120 tickets are sold for a total of, so we know it's exactly $1,390. How many tickets were bought in advance? Well, 120 tickets are sold. So it's the other equation that people don't think is as easy or to be able to write. But if there's 120 tickets sold, that would be X, which represents the advance tickets, plus Y equals 120. Now, do we know how many tickets were sold in advance at the door? No. But we do know because there's no other type of tickets possible to buy. So if you add those two types of tickets, it had to be $120. Now, this would be a perfect question probably for elimination or substitution method and not graphing it. However, you could graph it. You could find the intercepts, put 0 in for X, put 0 in for Y, and find the intercepts. Perhaps that'd be an easy way. I'd need a calculator. $1,390 divided by 10. That would be 13.9. This is going to have, that was a pretty easy one to do. That's going to be 13.9 is the Y-intercept. I could say the X-intercept for this one, 1,390 divided by 15. I don't know what that is because I don't have a calculator on me, but I could then solve it that way. But you know what? I'm not going to do that. I am going to, I know I'm already at 10 minutes, but I'm going to do what's called the elimination method. I am going to eliminate one of the variables. I'm going to eliminate the x's by multiplying everything here by 10. Because if I multiply this entire line by 10, that makes the x's the same. So this is going to be 10x, this is going to be 10y, and 10 times 120, that's pretty easy. That's 1,200. So this is gone, and now I notice that since these are the same, I can subtract 10x minus 10x. Yes, that's the elimination method. I just now eliminated a variable. 15y minus 10y is 5y, and 1390 minus 1200 is $190. Divide that by 5 on both sides. Y is equal to, so what is that? 5 times 3 is 15, carry the 4. 5 times 8 is 40. So it looks like 38 tickets were sold at the door. Now, if I know 38 tickets were sold at the door and there's 120 tickets altogether, 120 minus the 38 happens to be 18, what is that, 82 tickets, I believe, if I'm doing that correctly. So there we go. How many of the tickets were bought in advance? Well, that would be 82. 82 looks to be the answer to this question. All right. Thanks again for watching, and please let me know if you have any questions. Subscribe if you haven't done so already.